Okay, if everything has gone according to plan, we should be live on YouTube. Hello everyone and welcome back to Weekends with Avrona. 2 weeks in a row, I think that's a new record. Anyway, we have to, of course, talk about the big news. That being the Intel and Nvidia deal. Now, it is a very, very unique situation, as I talked about in my kind of main video on the topic, because we haven't really seen a collaboration like that before. There were some products before where, like, for example, Intel and AMD, like, I think Intel used some, like, AMD cores in their products, but this is on another level of what it looks like, because that was just Intel basically buying AMD cores. This is a very, very deep collaboration in the way it works. Not only because they are purchasing $5 billion of Intel stock, but also because the scale of what kind of products we'll be seeing is also much, much wider than anything we've ever seen. So if you somehow missed the news, I guess it's time to recap. Basically, Intel and Nvidia announced a partnership to help revitalize Intel quite a bit. Clearly the money from SoftBank and from the US government isn't enough, and now also Nvidia are chipping in with their own little deal to help make Intel actually sustainable, because, well, it wasn't a great time for them. The consumer products really weren't that great, the enterprise products weren't that great. They, for the first time forever, they lost the data center lead in like market share to AMD. Also, the Gaudi AI accelerators aren't that competitive either, so it wasn't great. And then they also didn't know what to do with the whole foundry business, which was hemorrhaging money. Something had to happen, and this is a very interesting way of doing it. So they've basically they've made several statements, but the whole day of announcements was rounded off by a conference of sorts by the CEOs of Nvidia and Intel, Jensen Huang and Lip Bhutan. However, it wasn't like a public thing or anything. It was like a keynote, or there was like no public. They were literally just in a Zoom call, pretty much. So it kind of makes me wonder how like why this avenue for announcing this? Why not wait for CES? Why not make some big event together instead of just, you know, doing a Zoom voice call? Like, do they feel like this is the obviously this was in plan for many, many months now. So like, why was this the moment they decided to do it? Like, did they just feel that the Intel stock price couldn't take anymore? I don't know. And of course, there's the other big question that people are worried about: what's going to happen to Intel graphics? But basically, from what we know, Intel graphics isn't going anywhere. Basically, they'll just continue doing their thing, and all of the Nvidia products will be kind of complementary to the Intel Arc stack and all of the Intel Xe graphics, basically. So the way I kind of wanted to do this is we can just watch the presentation together and see what exactly Jensen and Lip Bhutan have said on the matter. So it's not mega long, it's like 30 minutes or so, and I'll probably be skipping through parts if they're just like rambling on about like AI and data center stuff. So whatever, let's just watch this together and I'll give my commentary. I haven't watched this yet because all the news was coming in live as I was making the video, hence why I also had to like make another, like, it was a short the day after that, talking about how hey, yeah, Intel Arc isn't going anywhere. You know, there was a kind of, I made a kind of joke, like a half joke, at the end of the video, talking about how Intel graphics may go the way of 3DFX and be bought out by Nvidia outright. That isn't happening. Intel graphics is here to stay, and Nvidia cores will be complementary. But again, how on earth can they make that competitive unless they have some deals with Nvidia to like stay out of certain areas, like in certain sectors and like price points? We don't know. It's very, very weird. Felipe is saying Intel loses millions daily, so Nvidia doing it right away is most beneficial to Intel. Absolutely, but I really wonder how good is this going to be for Nvidia as well? I mean, obviously the biggest advantage is, and the thing that really kind of confused me about Nvidia products on the data center set, whenever they talk about it at CES and Computex, they'll talk about how all of the, you know, Grace systems and whatnot, they will be powered by ARM CPU cores. I assume there is quite a bit of demand on the high end to have x86 based systems rather than having ARM. And so it was kind of inevitable that they would do something like this. So, but I'm very curious. I'm very curious how much feedback they got from the people buying those kind of systems. Like, hey, we just want x86. We don't want to bother with ARM. And it's also really pulls into perspective a lot about what ARM's future is, especially on, you know, systems where, like I gave the example of the Switch 2, which is ARM based but with Nvidia graphics. Like, now you can just have an Intel chip with x86, and they can definitely get the efficiency good enough to put it in a Switch or like similar other small systems. So anyway, let's just get into this and watch this little call between
Good morning, everyone.
two of the world's richest men. Well, not the richest, like some of the richest, I mean.
Thank you for joining us to discuss
Let me know if the
press
audio
release
levels are
we
good.
issued today regarding a collaboration between Nvidia and Intel to jointly develop AI infrastructure and personal computing products. With me on the call today
It looks
are
good on
Jensen
my
Huang,
end, but again, let me know
founder and
if the
Chief
levels are
Executive Officer
fine
of
and if you can
NVIDIA,
hear it
and
properly.
Lip-Bu Tan, Chief Executive Officer of Intel Corporation. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. After prepared remarks, we will conduct a Q&A session.
Okay, the Q&A is going to be fun, but let's just skip through
over
all of
to
this
Jensen.
stuff.
Computing.
Okay, cool.
With that, let me turn the call over to Jensen.
Good morning, everyone.
Jensen isn't wearing his jacket. What on earth is this? That's not Jensen, that's an imposter.
AI is driving a reinvention of every layer of the computing stack.
Okay, I don't want to pause this too often, but you know, it's off to a great start when like the fourth word is already AI.
60 years ago, IBM introduced the System 360, the first general-purpose computer. It launched the modern computing era, powered by Moore's Law and CPUs, programmed line by human hands. But general-purpose computing has reached its limits. To keep advancing, we invented a new way forward. NVIDIA pioneered GPU-accelerated computing, increasing performance by orders of magnitude, tens, hundreds, thousands of times faster, while dramatically improving energy and cost efficiency. That innovation opened new frontiers in science and industry, and it sparked the Big Bang of artificial intelligence. Today, we're taking the next great step. Just moments ago, NVIDIA and Intel announced a historic partnership to jointly develop multiple generations of x86 CPUs,
Several generations.
data centers, and PC products. This collaboration
They're not giving a precise time frame. They're not saying like, oh, this is like a 10-year deal, but they're saying several generations of products with probably a possibility to extend it further if these things do sell well. And I do believe these things will sell well, but again, it's kind of early to tell. I'm very curious how many generations they have planned out. I know they already have like the first ones already leaked, but I'm very curious about how many they've already planned out.
And optimize Intel's x86 CPUs for NVIDIA's AI and accelerated computing architecture. Together, our companies will build custom Intel x86 CPUs for NVIDIA's AI infrastructure platforms, our data center platforms, bringing x86 into NVIDIA's NVLink ecosystem.
That's going to be huge.
And for personal computing,
that's a good
we're
stuff.
going to create new Intel x86 SoCs that integrate NVIDIA GPU chiplets, fusing the world's best CPU and GPU to redefine the PC experience.
That is the big thing. We knew it was coming. They did mention it before the press conference, but like hearing a proper confirmation of what consumer products are going to look like is really, really good. Obviously, the main focus will be on things like laptops. It'll be on systems like, again, Switch 2 and mini PCs, stuff that either use Intel chips and Intel CPUs and Intel integrated graphics, or that use Nvidia GPUs, but also CPU cores. So, you probably won't be seeing too much of this kind of stuff if you're only into desktops. We could be seeing Intel CPUs, Intel desktop CPUs that have built-in Nvidia integrated graphics, but like that wouldn't really make too much sense. That'd be way too good for a graphics chip that no one ever uses, right? We rarely ever use. Those are pretty much just only there for troubleshooting. I think we can all agree. So obviously they're not gonna put Nvidia in that. But for laptops, like imagine having a laptop that has, instead of having Intel graphics, which are pretty good and getting really, really much better with every single generation. Like that's one thing that Intel have been really good at. But now imagine that would have built in Nvidia graphics. Another thing that is also interesting is how this is going to relate to some of these kind of exclusive technologies and some of those kind of specific technologies for things like XeSS, DLSS, and a lot of the AI upscaling going on. That's also going to be pretty interesting, but they'll probably iron out the details later down the line. I think it's still going to be a while before we even see any products, though. Any products with these kind of chips. But I am actually very, very excited to see what the end result is going to be like. Philippe says, I don't see how this leads anywhere besides Nvidia buying out Intel completely. They can afford it. They can totally afford it. And just having the best of both worlds. The best of GPU compute cores and the best of x86 CPU. Okay, asterisk next to that. You can argue whether or not Intel and AMD are on top of the x86 game right now. I'd say that AMD is probably better at x86 right now. Ironic given how Intel are the ones who introduced it, but still. However, I think that they will just be challenged to hell and back by every single of the world's anti-monopoly government organizations. There is no way any antitrust watchdog or whatever you want to call them, government agencies that are responsible for that are going to allow that kind of merger. Like Nvidia taking over everything that Intel does, that'd be just way too monopolistic for their taste. So I cannot see that happening. Purchasing Intel graphics, yeah. Purchasing Intel Foundry if they want their own chips instead of relying on TSMC, sure. But straight up all of Intel, that would never fly.
This partnership is a recognition that computing has fundamentally changed. The era of accelerated and AI computing has arrived. Today is a very exciting day and a very big day. Intel and Nvidia are partnering to drive it forward. I'm delighted to partner with Lip-Bu Tan, longtime friend, and many of my colleagues at Intel in this great partnership, this historic partnership. And now let me turn it over to Lip-Bu to tell you about the exciting partnership we're entering into.
Yeah, thank you, Jensen, and thank you all of you for joining.
I just realized I never heard him speak before. That's one thing. I never heard Lip-Bu Tan actually talk. Also, another thing I just kind of realized is you have two ginormous companies here. Nvidia, the biggest company in the world right now. This is like the best layout they could afford visually for this presentation, which is like these default fonts that don't match the G anything.
Jensen and I
there's like a weird little gray bar here.
Years, and I still remember that Jensen had the vision of building the system, platform, software, and with the CUDA, and the long-term vision that he had for the company. And I have to salute to him. He done a fabulous job to building that AI platform, driving the whole new market opportunity. I'm so excited.
Yeah, here we built like the world's biggest company.
Together with Jensen to build a new era. And this is historical collaboration between the two companies. And I think this is a very big, important milestone. I call it a game-changing opportunity that we can work together. And I would say that we are proud that Nvidia is an investor to Intel. And thank you for supporting and confident in us and trust in us. And I think this milestone, the critical role that Intel can play in the ecosystem. And I'm grateful for the confidence and that you place with us. In terms of product perspective, and I just make 3 points just to add on to building on the Jensen comments. Number one, this collaboration is built on the core strengths of both companies. Nvidia is clear leader in AI, accelerated computing. Intel is a leader in the data center and client PC CPU.
I'd disagree with that.
Together.
Again, you just lost the market share crown in data center for the first time. And yeah, you're also very much losing on the consumer side right now. So, but sure, whatever. Let's just go along with it.
For the industry going forward. Number two, this collaboration is unleash the new era of 86 innovation, and 86 is a foundational role to play in the next era of computing. And I'm excited about what can be created together in the NVLink stack scale solution that based on 86. And 86 client SoC with NVLink interconnect and united memory. And also the advanced packaging that can bring all together and then to make it together for making the company and for the industry. And number three, all of this is great for our customer. Our motto is very simple: make great products and delight the customer. That is what this collaboration all about. And our team are ready and excited to work together, both teams to make it a success together. And now I open up for some questions.
So the rest of it is just the Q&A. Okay, this is going to be interesting.
Concludes our prepared remarks. Operator, please open the call for questions. Thank you.
Oh, so wait, so these were like live calls from just the audience? Wow, that's kind of risky. I thought that he's going to have like, I don't know, some like very pre-prepared press, and like I guess they're pre-prepared to like some extent. But they just like taking any calls?
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad.
They kept that audio in.
If you would like to withdraw your question, simply press *1 again. Please ensure that your phone is not on mute when called upon. Thank you. Your first question comes from Jim Cramer of CNBC.
Okay, starting off with Kramer.
Yes, thank you. First, congratulations, gentlemen.
Okay, so I think if they're starting off with Kramer, then I think they're not as random as I thought at first.
Market landscape looks like with this product partnership, and how does it expand the opportunity and growth for both companies?
Yeah, thanks a lot,
Basically, how does it bail Intel out?
Jim. Lip-Bu, I'll take the first shot at it, and you could help me out. So if you look at the AI computing world, let me take it in two segments. The AI computing world first. These are supercomputers, and as you know, Jim, we recently introduced the scale-up NVLink 72 rack scale computers. That involves designing a custom CPU we call Vera that's tightly integrated with the GPUs, Blackwell GPUs, so that we can disaggregate NVLink switches, scale it up into a rack scale system, essentially have an entire rack behaving as if it's one giant computer, one giant GPU. Well, in order to do that, we have to really customize the CPU to do that. And so this architecture, the NVLink 72 rack scale architecture, is only available for the Vera CPU that we build, the ARM CPU that we build. And for the x86 ecosystem, it's really unavailable except with server CPUs over PCI Express. And that has limitations in how far you could scale these scale-up systems. And so the first opportunity is that we can now, with Intel x86 CPU, integrate it directly into NVLink ecosystem and create these rack scale AI supercomputers. The second thing.
Okay, so that leads to the obvious question. Given how much money Nvidia have now, why would they go well, apart from just the fact that it's the easier route, why would they go the route of purchasing x86 cores from Intel rather than R&Ding their own? Again, the obvious answer is because making your own x86 CPU from scratch is kind of difficult, but they kind of have the money, and then they wouldn't be reliant on what's going on with anyone else, right? And Nvidia, they really like doing their own thing. And so I kind of wonder, weighing up the pros and cons, what kind of, maybe someone's going to ask that later. Like, I'm really curious, what was the thought process going into the decision to partner with Intel so they can introduce, so you can swap out going from ARM chips in the data center ecosystem, like they just said, into x86? Like, was that entire thought process just because it's a lot of work? But like, is there like a bit more to the whole discussion there? That's one thing I'm kind of curious about.
There's 150 million laptops sold per year, and Nvidia's market is largely targets squarely at gaming and workstation markets where discrete GPUs are used. And we're very successful there, and
that's also very interesting how much they are already talking about the consumer side of things. When you look back at stuff like the Nvidia CS presentation, or even the Intel CS presentation, that was just like mostly AI. Jensen basically even made a joke at the sorry, not CS, Computex. I don't know why I thought like CS was the last. No, Computex. We had Computex in May. Jensen even made a joke. He gave like just like the shortest 30-second shout out to like the newest Nvidia laptop GPUs, and then he just said, Nvidia, we have a lot of children. Let's talk about AI. But basically just kind of acknowledging the fact that they barely talk about consumer stuff, but here they are very, very forward about the opportunities in the consumer space, which is really awesome. Also, why do I always pause on just the most unfortunate frames for Lip Bhutan over there? Every single time I pause so far, he's been just fast asleep.
we continue to grow there, and we're going to continue to grow there. There's an entire segment of the market where the CPU and the GPU are integrated, and it's integrated for form factor reasons. Maybe it's for cost reasons. Maybe it's for battery life reasons, all kinds of different reasons. And that segment has been largely unaddressed by NVIDIA today. And so what the Intel team and I are doing, NVIDIA is doing, is that we're creating an SoC that fuses two processors. It fuses the CPU and NVIDIA's GPU, RTX GPU, using NVLink. And it fuses these two dies into one essentially virtual giant SoC.
So, okay, that's kind of confusing. What's with the constant referral to, again, okay, I guess I get why they're saying SoC. What they're referring to is what we normally call an APU, but that's more of an AMD term for things. And Intel have always called it, well, a regular CPU, because pretty much all of the CPUs have integrated graphics minus the FSKUs. However, like the constant talk about SoCs, is it going to be a full SoC, like chipset, everything on the CPU, all connected up via, like, on package NVLink?
And that would become essentially a new class of integrated graphics laptops that the world's never seen before. That entire, that segment of the market is really quite rich, and it's really quite large, and it's underserved today, with state-of-the-art world-class GPUs like NVIDIA is able to build.
Backhandedly talking about Intel's graphics not being good enough. Nice one there, Jensen.
Yeah, I think, Jensen, if I can just add on to it, and I think clearly it's all about the scale, and in terms of the best of GPU accelerator, and then the best of 86, and then with the NVLink linked together.
Why
and
is
then
he
able to
constantly
scale,
referring
and
to
some of the
x86 as
markets
just
people
86? Is
are
that just what they do at
doing
Intel?
well, but we can expand even more in terms of some of the application solutions.
Is the X just
the vertical
redundant to them?
market we can go after.
If I may just follow up for a second, Jensen, will you be using Intel's foundries to make high-end chips like a Grace Blackwell, or more importantly,
That's a good question.
Rubin, the kind of best-in-class semiconductors that right now you have made with Taiwan Semi?
Well, we've always evaluated Intel's foundry technology, and we're going to continue to do that. But today,
So no.
this announcement is squarely focused on
So no.
These custom CPUs.
They're not
You know,
using Intel
with this
foundries.
partnership,
Rip.
with this agreement,
Rip.
we're essentially going to be a major customer of Intel server CPUs. This is the very first time. You know, at the moment we buy CPUs, ARM-based CPUs, from TSMC, and the x86-based PCI Express CPUs are sold openly in the marketplace. In the future, we will buy x86 CPUs from Intel, and we would fuse it with NVLink into our rack scale system. So we're going to become a very large customer of Intel CPUs. The second thing is that we're going to be quite a large supplier of GPU chiplets into x86, Intel x86 CPU SoCs. And so in that particular case, we're going to be a supplier into a market segment we've never addressed. In the server, we're going to be a customer, a major customer of Intel's, and we'll integrate it into NVLink 72 and resell CPUs essentially. And so this is going to be a great growth business opportunity for both of us.
Thank you.
So basically, that was just a whole way of saying that, yeah, no, they're still not using Intel foundries. Also, is it just me? I just noticed, is it just me, or this is the first time I've actually ever seen Jensen look kind of older? Like, is it just me, or it has to, like, actually
Next
aged?
question comes from Ian Kane of
Or maybe that's just, like, the lighting.
Bloomberg. Your line is open.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you very much for doing this, and this is interesting times we're living in. Wondered if you could talk a little bit about how long you've been working on this agreement, and then obviously you talked a lot about custom solutions and custom parts. Those don't happen overnight. When might we get to the point where we're seeing devices in the end markets for sale, please?
The two technology teams have been discussing and architecting solutions now for probably coming out to a year.
That's about the time frame
the two
we'd
architecture
expected.
teams. Well, it's three architecture teams are working across, of course, the CPU architecture as well as product lines for server and PCs. And so the architecture work is fairly extensive, and the teams are really excited about the new architecture. And so the teams have been working a while, and we're excited about the announcement today.
Wait, so he didn't say, like, when they're coming?
The teams are really excited. Well, it's three architecture teams are working across the announcement today.
It's not like I missed it.
Financial Times. Your line is open.
Hi both. Jensen, why can't you commit to Intel as a foundry for your most advanced AI chips at this point? And
Ooh, okay.
For sort of deeper manufacturing collaboration.
Pushing on the foundry thing,
Are
okay.
you confident Intel's going to get there? And then secondly, I'd be interested, what sort of involvement did the Trump administration have in this agreement, if any?
Ooh, okay. Two really good questions
the
there.
Trump administration had no involvement in this partnership at all, and they would have been very supportive, of course. And today, I had the opportunity to tell Secretary Lutnick, and he was very excited and very supportive of seeing American technology companies working together. I think Lip-Bu and I would both say that TSMC is a world-class foundry, and in fact, we're both very successful customers of TSMC's, and the capabilities of TSMC from process technology.
You can see he's minding his words so much. He's so careful with what he's saying right now.
Their capacity and infrastructure, the agility.
Not to
of their
break
business
poor Lip-Butan's
operations.
heart on a foundry business.
Just all of the magic that comes together for being a world-class foundry, supporting customers of such diverse needs, is really quite extraordinary. And I just can't, you just can't overstate
you can't bring yourself
magic
to
that,
use Intel
that
Foundry.
is TSMC. But today, our conversation today, our partnership today, is completely focused. It is 100% focused on the custom CPUs that we're building for the data center that now has NVLink capabilities and can connect to the NVLink and the Nvidia AI supercomputing ecosystem. And it's completely focused on mobile SoCs or consumer PCs that now fuse the world's best CPU and the world's best GPU for consumer products. That segment, you know, the first segment, of course, the data center CPU segment.
Okay, yeah, he's
know,
just repeating
probably something
himself
along
now.
the lines of, you know, it's a combination of that, because segment is going to be about AI through and through. And so this is an exciting partnership for the data center. And then for the consumer market, it's 150 million laptops sold each year, and we're now going to combine the best CPU and the best GPU. And so it's really, really exciting. Lip-Bu?
Yeah, I think, you know, clearly this is historical. And, you know, this is also my 6 month, you know, the year old for Intel CEO. And from day one, you know, Jensen and I, we work on it. And then we accelerate that process. And then two teams work together to this.
Okay, yeah, just avoiding a question.
Next question comes from Laura Bratton with Yahoo Finance. Your line is open.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my question. I'm really curious about which manufacturing process these new CPUs will be made on. I know that, you know, Lip-Bu, you said that, you know, 14A is only going to go forward if it has meaningful volume or customer commitment. I just wonder, can you?
Yeah, I think they already established it's not happening on Intel's 14A. It's not happening on Intel's at all.
And I know you said this is strictly a product announcement, but can you all comment at all on whether this might pave the way for NVIDIA to collaborate with Intel Foundry services in the future?
Okay,
And,
they are still pushing the Foundry thing. They made it clear that they are not.
This announcement is more on the product collaborations.
Yeah.
And clearly, like Jensen mentioned, you know, the TSMC have been a great partner, long time.
They're just going to be repeating the same thing.
Nvidia, yeah. So we're going to continue doing that. And I think that's kind of, in terms of process, I think later on we can describe more, but I think right now.
Annual opportunity continue. And we're committed. We're fully committed to the ARM roadmap. We have lots and lots of customers for ARM. We're building the next generation of Vera, the next generation of Grace called Vera, and we have a next generation after that. We have exciting CPUs that we're building based on ARM. We're building ARM, of course.
Like, I'm kind of surprised to hear he's so passionate about ARM still.
Robotics processors. Our latest one is called Thor. It's used for robots and, of course, for autonomous driving. We also have a new ARM product that's called N1, and that product that processor is going to go into the DGX Spark and many other versions of products like that. And so we're super excited about the ARM roadmap, and this doesn't affect any of that. NVIDIA's architecture, accelerated computing, covers just about every CPU architecture, and our most important interest is for whatever general purpose computing platform that has market reach. We would like to be able to accelerate it to its fullest capability. And so today we have the benefit of partnering with Intel on a CPU platform that unquestionably has the largest enterprise industrial space, cloud, consumer footprint of any CPU in the world.
So I wonder what that's going to look like
really
long term. Are they just going to continuously do both ARM and x86, or are they going to long term go just x86?
This general purpose computing platform by adding and fusing the NVIDIA accelerated computing and AI computing architectures.
The next question comes from Stephen Nellis with Reuters News. Your line is open.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking my question. I had a question for Jensen and Lip-Bu. Jensen, why did you feel it was appropriate or necessary to also make an equity investment in Intel along with this product collaboration? And Lip-Bu, this is now sort of a string of equity investments we've seen from folks. Can we expect other ones from potential, partners or foundry customers in the future?
I appreciate that question because we thought it was going to be such an incredible investment.
Because
this is a big partnership,
Okay.
and we think it's going to be fantastic for Intel. It's going to be fantastic for us, and we're building revolutionary products.
because they
that's
need
going
to bail
address
Intel
some
out
$50
because they were
billion
just
annual market.
not in a
And
great
so
spot, and they
how
just
could we, on the one hand, be excited about the products and how revolutionary they are? On the other hand, not be excited about the opportunities ahead. And so we're delighted to be a shareholder. We're delighted to have invested in Intel, and the return on that investment is going to be fantastic. Both, of course, in our own business. But
Someone did the
also in
maths,
our
like
equity
what
share of Intel. I think
percentage
it's going to be fantastic.
shareholder are they going to be
It just
after
reflects
this?
how excited we are about this partnership.
Thank you, Jensen. I think answer your question. I think clearly
Because the Trump admin said they want to buy 10%, right? So is Nvidia gonna be bigger than that?
mentioned my top 10 priority. One of them is to strengthen my balance sheets, and that's I'm focused on that. And then secondly, in this particular situation, I think first of all, I'd like to thank Jensen for the confidence in me, and then our team and Intel will work really hard to make sure it's a good return for you. And more important, it's a strategic partnership to drive the products and go to market together to win. So that I think is very meaningful for us.
Basically, putting in nicer words of you all knew.
The next question comes from Robbie Whelan with WSJ. Your line is open.
Hi, thanks to both of you for the announcement and congratulations. There have been a lot of questions about whether or not Nvidia will someday use Intel as its foundry partner for its most advanced AI chips. But with these CPUs that we're talking about under this partnership, will TSMC be fabricating most of those CPUs for the
They already said that they're not going to be discussing that.
Just really quickly, what's the bigger addressable market under this partnership? Data centers versus PCs and edge computing? In other words, do you expect to be making more CPUs for PCs under this new arrangement, or more CPUs for data centers?
Lip-Bu, do you want to take the first part?
Sure. So I think in terms of as we mentioned earlier, this is more the product collaboration announcement. We both sides have a lot of respect for TSMC. We continue to work with them. In terms of the Intel Foundry, we continue to make progress. And
yes, we get it. You won't be using it as a foundry.
It's the right one for doing our foundry. So I think we continue to improve, and I will review that, and then win the customer confidence and trust, and then one step at a time.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Lip-Bu, that I would also add is that Intel has the Fevros multi-technology packaging capability, and it's really enabling here. And the reason for that is because as we all know, Nvidia's GPU technology is based on TSMC's foundry, and this is one of the extraordinary things that you can do, connecting Nvidia's GPU chiplet with Intel's CPUs in a multi-technology packaging capability and multi-process packaging technology. And so it's really a fabulous way of mixing and matching technology, and that's one of the reasons why we're going to be able to innovate so quickly and build these incredibly complex systems and deliver it as multi-chiplet systems packages. And so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
in terms of the size of, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think, Jensen, you brought up a good point about our advanced packaging.
I think that they're going to start repeating themselves at this point in the presentation.
It's a really good technology, and we will
and basically just dodging questions about Intel Foundry.
That's reliable and the yield improvement, and then so I think that part definitely will explore the collaboration opportunity.
Yeah, with respect to the size of the market, the data center market and the PC market are both large. And we're going to build revolutionary products.
But the margins are bigger on data center, obviously.
Nothing of its kind has ever been built before for the x86 market. And so I think if my recollection is correct, the data center CPU market is about $25 billion or so annually. And just the notebook market is 150 million notebooks sold each year. And so that kind of gives you a sense of the scale of the work that we're going to do here. We're going to address in terms of the consumer market, we're going to address a vast majority of that consumer PC market, consumer PC notebook market. And with respect to the data center, we're going to bring NVLink, which is the scale up.
And it also means x86 on the Switch
fabric
3,
of NVIDIA,
correct?
The computing fabric of our company.
Right.
We're going to bring that capability to Intel. And so I think these are going to be revolutionary products, and we're looking. I know that all of us working on it are super excited about it. The architects working on it are super excited about it, and so we're looking forward to telling you more about it over time.
The next question comes from Edward Ludlow with Bloomberg. Your line is open.
Jensen, Lip-Bu, thank you very much for your time and willingness to answer questions. Jensen, I appreciate you talked a lot about the addressable market. Could you explain how Nvidia participates in the economics of x86? Because you make money on ARM-based CPU, right? So if you could explain how it will work for Nvidia on the top and bottom line, I'd be grateful. And Lip-Bu, congratulations. You've been in Silicon Valley, so to speak, for a long time, right? If you stand on the Intel roof, you can look across the freeway at Nvidia. Would you just explain the culture and sentiment inside Intel today in reaction to this new partnership and what it means?
Can you actually see Nvidia from Intel?
And your staff? Thanks.
In the case of the data center to server CPU, it's like us buying Grace CPU from TSMC, integrating it into our rack scale systems and selling that. It's basically the same idea. So we're now, instead of for x86, we don't buy any CPUs. We let the market sort it out, and the CPUs are really sold as discrete servers, separate servers that are then connected with our GPUs in a data center, and that architecture, basically using PCI Express retimers and things like that, basically PCI Express retimers and repeaters essentially. Instead of building servers like that really don't have the ability to scale up.
He was saying that with so much disgust almost.
Fabric systems,
like, oh, they're still using
we now
PCI
are able
Express.
to do that with Intel x86 CPUs. And so we'll buy those CPUs from Intel, and then we'll connect it into super chips that then becomes our compute nodes that then gets integrated into a rack scale AI supercomputer. In the case of our consumer PC, we will sell, the current idea is to sell NVIDIA's GPU chiplet, either in a pass-through way with Intel, or sold to Intel. And that is then packaged into an SoC. And so we buy a server die, server chip on the one hand, server chip on the one hand, we sell a GPU chiplet on the other hand. And in both cases, it expands the market for Intel very significantly, and it expands the market for NVIDIA as well.
And then in terms of your question about the culture changes at Intel, and first of all, this is a new Intel culture I'm trying to build, and it's going to be engineering focused, and extending my relationship with Jensen.
Isn't that basically the whole motto that Pat Gelsinger was elected under?
And now we are so excited to have this partnership, to collaborating to the engineering on 86 and also the GPU accelerator, and then on the AI side, and with NVLink. So I think there's a lot of engineering collaboration together. The culture I want to have is really lean, fast-moving, and so that we can match up with the Jensen fast-moving culture. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to build that culture that can match each other to drive the best solution for the market.
Once again, if you have a question, it is *1 on your telephone keypad. Your next question comes from Christina Partsinevelos with CNBC. Your line is open.
Thank you both for setting this up and taking my question. Jensen, you spoke about the ARM relationship, which is great. So it's continuing, and maybe the reaction today was a little overdone. But given SoftBank's position across ARM, Intel, and now your partnership with Intel, is there just like some type of broader coordination that I'm missing here? And then I just have a follow on China.
Yeah, this today should have no impact on ARM.
Really?
Really? With respect to the second question,
yeah, no,
not that I'm aware of. There were no communications with anybody else except for between Lip-Bu, myself, and the technical teams.
What do you mean it's not going to have an impact on ARM?
On this partnership, and we kept it really quiet. Obviously it's a very substantial partnership. This is going to expand the market opportunity for Intel in AI infrastructure that is largely unexposed to them today, and it's going to expose to Intel in the consumer notebook market where really exquisite GPUs are necessary. And so these two markets are unexposed to Intel today, and it's going to be brand new growth markets for Intel. And so I think and all the due diligence that we've between our two teams and all the work that we did gave us a lot of confidence about the future of Intel. And so we're really betting on well, I've become quite a significant shareholder because we believe in this and we have confidence in them to partner with us to create these amazing products. But all of these discussions has no relationship to any of the things that you were talking about.
And just a quick follow-up. Intel definitely, we know, faces different regulatory constraints than you do. And so all the stories that are coming out of China is just, constantly on CNBC. We're talking about it all the time. But is that part of the calculus here that, Intel's difference in regulatory constraints would help you?
What is that focus on China? What is...
I don't think there's any relationship there either. And I don't think there'll be any impact either way.
Like, apart from the fact that it just makes, Western chips more competitive. Though again, they have always been just leagues ahead. Like, China isn't able to manufacture anything internally that's really, really good so far. Like, I didn't really see what's her obsession with linking this to China.
Next question comes from Anissa Gardesi with The Information. Your line is open.
Hey, thank you two so much for the time and fantastic question. My question is for Jensen. I was curious what types of Nvidia customers are interested in the x86 architecture for the CPU, and do you expect any customers that currently use the ARM CPU to switch to x86 in the future?
Well, ARM in the world's CSPs is growing, but the vast majority of the world's CSPs are still x86. The vast majority of cloud instances for enterprise users are still x86, and so I think the x86 footprint is still quite large, and
quite large is a
Nvidia
bit of an
addresses it
understatement.
in one of two ways. In the case of ARM, we could scale up to a full rack scale NVLink system. In the case of x86, we address it through external PCI Express retimers, and we scale up to NVLink 8. And so in the case of x86, we scale up to NVLink 8. In the case of ARM, we scale up to NVLink 72. And so now we could, with x86, scale up also to NVLink 72. And so I think this is a really great growth opportunity for both of us. And it also creates a product that for many customers who are still x86 based, and basically the vast majority of the world's enterprise is still x86 based, they now have state-of-the-art AI infrastructure.
The next question comes from Eva Du with Washington Post. Your line is open.
Thank you for holding this. Since President Trump, manufacturing in the United States is such a big push for him, and both your companies have committed to multi-billion-dollar investments in this area. Could you talk a bit about what are realistically the prospects of manufacturing your chips in America? Like, what proportion of your chips do you expect to be made in the U.S. in the near future, and what are sort of the
They're definitely not going to give any kind of
doing
committed
more of
answer
the
to that,
production
let's be
here?
honest.
Thank you.
Lip-Bu, would you like to go first?
Yeah, clearly, clearly we like President Trump focus on manufacturing in U.S. But I think it's important to address that, and then the opportunity we have in front of us. But meanwhile, we also have the footprint from Intel globally, and so in the way we just meet customer requirement,
like I said,
Nvidia, and so that they have the flexibility.
Basically,
best
change and
suitable
talk
for
about
them.
something else.
And then meanwhile, we continue to improve our yield of performance. And also the other part is the advanced packaging we just talked about. I think it's a great opportunity.
Basically, in the
for
softest
both of
possible
us.
way, saying that it's not going to be mostly made in the
I'll
US.
call to Mylene for closing remarks.
I want to thank all of you for joining us today in this historic day. It's a historic partnership. I want to thank Lip-Bu for his leadership and the management team of Intel that we've had the great privilege of working with, architecting two really exciting product lines and architecting this partnership. We're going to go in and address a new computing era where accelerated computing and AI are essential to every aspect of computing, whether it's in the data center, in the cloud, or in mobile devices and personal computers. I'm super excited to start the projects and our partnership. I want to thank Lip-Bu again and the Intel team for this exciting announcement and this exciting new partnership. Lip-Bu?
Yep, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Jensen and Nvidia for the trust and support.
Okay, so
Intel,
that basically just
and we will work
closing
hard to make sure that
remarks.
this-
That's just the same thing we heard over and over again. So I think that was obviously they can't say too much. It cleared up some concerns, some questions people had, but again, it's still very early. They still don't want to commit to too much. Basically, they ended up saying more between the lines than they ended up saying explicitly. Like, for example, it's clear that we won't be getting too much in terms of stuff being made in Intel foundries. So we'll see how that's going to pan out. A lot of it is still going to be focused on TSMC or on Intel's other global operations. So a lot of it isn't going to be made in the US. So we'll also have to look at how that's going to affect, tariffs. Obviously, that situation with tariffs in the US changes like pretty much every single day, so who knows what that's going to look like. And also they won't commit in terms of when exactly we could see products with with the combination of the two technologies. I'm also kind of surprised how much Jensen is still betting on ARM. I mean, he's a much smarter person than me, so so clearly he probably knows better how much of a market share there is and what the advantages of ARM even on enterprise level still are. But yeah, that was a pretty it was as useful of a presentation as you would expect for that kind of announcement. Obviously they are extremely careful with everything they say, even if it was kind of like live questions, and obviously it's still so early on they can't really say too much. So it was about as useful as you would have expected. So I hope it was kind of interesting for you as well, basically going through that presentation and seeing what the two had to say about what this collaboration is going to look like. Obviously people are excited. I think in terms of actual products, it's going pretty good. And for investors, obviously, we've seen the Intel stock price really go up after the announcement, as you would expect when Nvidia, basically every single AI startup, every single project recently that Nvidia has been backing, the stock price just went through the roof. And same story here, basically. Like the second they have Nvidia's seal of approval, you can expect your stock to go up, and the same thing happened here. So if you had any stock in Intel before this announcement, then good for you, because they kept it so quiet that it was just a random drop. It's not something you could have really predicted. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it here. This was a pretty interesting little show. I think it was a very, very useful to go through and talk about all of this and do a full kind of basically listen to all of the thoughts, even if they were kind of repeating themselves. And yeah, so hopefully you found this kind of quick overview of this entire deal kind of helpful, straight from the guys who are behind it all, and also with all of my constant inputs and me just, you know, cutting in mid-sentence to add in my daft takes on the matter. But anyway, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this show. I have still no idea what next week's show is going to look like, but hopefully there's going to be something exciting for that as well. I have a couple of ideas, so you just have to subscribe and wait until next week to see what it is. But anyway, that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. If you did, make sure to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.